Madness. This is
The Weekly Waypoint, episode 300. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, okay. That's right, I've been doing the Weekly Waypoint for 300 consecutive weeks without a break. I think sometime after episode 100 I was like, I'm gonna start taking breaks. That did not happen. I just like making these videos too damn much. Today we are playing Diablo 4 for two reasons. The first reason is that I went back and watched the Weekly Waypoint episode 200, in which I talked about watching episode 100, so going by my pattern of behaviour, hello Christian, who's about to record the Weekly Waypoint episode 400, how's life? Anyway, in that video I was playing Diablo 3 and I thought, wouldn't it be fitting if I played Diablo 4 100 episodes later? Also, that means we gotta have Diablo 5 by episode 400, right? That's how that works? That's how that works. Blizzard, I'm holding you to this. The other reason I'm playing Diablo 4 is because I'm playing Diablo 4. And if you remember, if you watched this channel when the game came out, you may remember I have a bit of a history with how I feel about this game. It was my third favourite game that I played in 2023, but that also came with quite a few caveats. I'm not going to retread them all here, but if you would like to learn more about kind of like the issues I have with Diablo 4 and how I'm kind of getting over them, then I did write a little blog post about it over on kritigri.wordpress.com. It's called Let Me Love You, Diablo 4. But I guess to summarise, my main issues are that the endgame is a grind that isn't as fun as it should be, because Diablo 4's repetitive gameplay. You know, repetitive gameplay in a Diablo game is kind of what it's about, so why isn't it fun? And I haven't enjoyed their seasons so far, but Season 3 is coming up soon, and I am gonna give it a proper shot. I am going to roll probably a Necromancer I've decided on. I may even buy the Battle Pass depending on how I feel, and I've yet to really dive into a season, and I feel like this is going to be the one. I like the theme of it, it intrigues me, but mostly I'm just ready. I'm just ready to be playing Diablo 4 again. I can partially blame one Josh Strifehaze for this, a popular YouTuber who recently has been playing a lot of Path of Exile, so I decided for maybe the third or fourth time to give Path of Exile a go. Immediately bounced off of it and went, well, now I just want to play Diablo, so that's another reason why we're here. Honestly, getting back into it, I've been having a blast. I still think it's an absurd grind to get to level 100, like one nightmare dungeon at this tier, which to be fair I am kind of shredding, but still only awards like less than a quarter of a level, and that's just ridiculous in my opinion. This is after they've buffed it by like 50% or something wild. But anyway, we're not getting into grievances, we've done that, that's all wrapped up, neatly bottled up, taken care of, put on a shelf right next to all that emotional trauma. What's that doing there? Okay, so you know how I've been doing the Weekly Waypoint for 300 weeks in a row now, right? This is kind of like the first week where I've taken notes about things I would like to talk about in this video throughout the week, so I do not forget, because I have a terrible habit of going to record the Weekly Waypoint, fumbling around for things to talk about, then publishing a subpar, in my opinion, version of a Weekly Waypoint, and then after it's live going, oh shit, I completely forgot to talk about this major thing that's been a part of my week that I really wanted to talk about, so no more of that. We're going to start writing that shit down and being professional. Hopefully this translates into a bump in quality in the Weekly Waypoint for you. I'm also going to try some new things with thumbnails. I don't know if a thumbnail necessarily needs to be the game I'm playing, because that's not necessarily what the video is about all of the time, and I feel like when people see like a Trackmania thumbnail, they're like, eh. Anyway, this week the Xbox Developer Direct happened, and you know what else happened? A bunch of people whose podcasts I listened to went, huh, this was a really unexpectedly nice way of presenting this information. And I'm like, did none of you watch last year's where it was the exact same thing? They're not wrong, but like unanimously everyone was surprised by how delightful and to the point this presentation was. I'm like, this is literally following last year's template. Anyway, doesn't matter. Maybe everyone else has lives and they don't make room in their brains to remember video game presentations like I do. So the first thing they showed off was Avowed, and I think Avowed looks fucking phenomenal. It is one of my most anticipated games of the year, and I won't lie, the main reason I'm excited for Avowed is because it's Obsidian, and Obsidian made Fallout New Vegas, and I'm hoping that this is Fallout New Vegas to Fallout, I'm hoping it's that for Skyrim, you know? Like, obviously this is in their original IP instead, but the gameplay very much feels like it's their take on a Skyrim-style game. And as much as I love Skyrim and Oblivion and those Bethesda RPGs, I feel like there's a surprising lack of those types of, like, first-person immersive RPG games. And I feel like what that comes down to a lot of the time is the difficulty of, creating good melee combat. For some reason, it's really difficult to create good-feeling first-person melee combat. And from what I've seen of this Avowed trailer, I think, apparently against what everyone else thinks, I think that it looks really good. Again, all I've seen is that it looks like it's not impactful or that it's clunky or whatever. Maybe it's because I play ESO, but I don't know, man. I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing like, oh shit, this is a major step up from Skyrim. I'm also interested in exploring a new fantasy universe because I haven't really played Pillars of Eternity. I have dabbled and I do intend to continue dabbling. One day I do intend to go back and try and play more of that game because I was having a good time. I just got distracted, you know how I am. But yeah, Avowed looks good. Can't wait. I'm not really the strategy gamer here, but I do keep really wanting to get into Civilization 5 specifically, and I never have so far, and Ara looks like a really good modern take on a game like Civilization 5, obviously by ex-Civilization 5 devs, so that's no surprise, but it looks like it really enhances the game in ways which you would want a game like that to be enhanced. Again, I don't really play the genre, but it looks great. The surprise game reveal this time round, because last time it was Hi-Fi Rush, this time a bit different, it was Visions of Mana coming to Xbox, which is cool because, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm on a big, like, making up for lost time craze for, like, JRPGs and stuff. So Visions of Mana looks really cool. It's not coming to Game Pass, so I don't know if I'm gonna throw the money on it. I'll probably buy it in a sale one day. I've never played a Mana game, but this does look like a pretty fun game. My one concern is that I am currently having a lot of fun in turn-based, more old-fashioned turn-based JRPGs, and whenever I've played more modern ones, which are action RPGs, which I thought I would have preferred, I'm now starting to wonder if I do, because I'm thinking of Tales of Arise, and Tales of Arise is a gorgeous game, it's a fantastic game, it's got a really interesting narrative, but the thing that stops me from turning that game on again and continuing through it, other than the fact that it's been ages now and I barely remember what's going on, is the combat. I found the combat really difficult, and I looked online and I was not the only person, and there were not, if I remember right, maybe I was just being stubborn, but I don't think there were really any difficulty options, so you just kinda had to get good, and I didn't appreciate that because I was really invested in the story. So I never got all that far through Tales of Arise, and I'm worried that Visions of Mana could be the same thing. But it is a completely different stories with completely different developers, so maybe I'm just worrying when I don't need to. Also, I heard that the previous Mana game was not received very well, so that's another slight concern, but also I think that was like a long time ago or something. I don't know. Why am I talking about things I don't know anything about? That's bad luck. I don't have a lot to say about Hellblade 2 Senua's Saga, because I still have not played Senua's Sacrifice, which I believe is the name of the first game. I probably will get around to it at some point. I'm just curious enough. But I feel like we've had so many previews of this game now. This stuff was mostly behind the scenes stuff. And not to downplay it, I did really enjoy what I was shown. But, it's not like super in my wheelhouse, but, it's on Game Pass. I'll check it out sometime. And then finally from the developer direct was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, being made by Machine Games, the folk who made the Wolfenstein games, the modern ones. I tried playing through Wolfenstein, is it the Old Order or the New Blood or something? But I got lost in a level which was quite mazy, and I actually didn't really like how the shooting felt either. So I don't really know much about Machine Games games either. I'm also not a huge Indiana Jones guy. I could be, but I'm not currently. But hey, the game looks very faithful to the source material, and that whip tech looks surprisingly solid, so it'll probably be great. Following on after the developer direct was the thing I was a little bit more interested in, which was the revelation of the next Elder Scrolls Online expansion. If you don't know, I'm a big Elder Scrolls Online player. I've played through all the expansions, save the second half of the High Isles DLC because that was boring me to tears. I really enjoyed Necrom last year. I thought it was the most solid expansion they've put out for a very long time. But as far as Gold Road goes, I would say mid-tier hype. I would say, looks decent. I'll probably check it out. I'm not rushing to get back into the game for it or anything, though. I think the location is a hard sell. It's basically them just going, alright, it's going to be in the bit of Cyrodiil that we haven't gone to yet, which kind of makes up 3 different, border biomes. But from what they showed off in the gameplay trailer, I think they have actually done a solid job of creating that zone. It looks really autumnal, and I really dig that vibe. I'm surprised that the story is a direct sequel to Necrom. They revealed the new Daedric Prince at the end of Necrom, and this is dealing with that with some of the same characters, and they don't normally do that. They do that normally for the second smaller DLC at the second half of the year, but they stopped doing that last year, so this might be an effect of that change. Lastly, the scribing feature looks like it could potentially be cool, but all I can think of when I see features which are like, endless player customizability, you can make whatever you want, is there's going to be a meta and everyone's going to do the meta. I find it hard to get excited about those things, I'm afraid. I also find it weird that those spells exist alongside normal spells which can't be customized. That's weird. How's that going to fit into existing builds? I don't know. They are also adding spell customizations for existing spells, though, which I like because my main Dragon Knight, one of his main abilities is Noxious Breath, and I don't like the idea of him being poison based, so hopefully I can change that. It can still be poison damage, I just don't want him to be spewing green out of his face every 2 seconds. Let me just clarify, because for people who don't play ESO, it sounds like I just said that adding customizable spells, which are going to be weird, existing alongside old spells which aren't customizable, and then they're also making old spells customizable. You're probably scratching your head. I know, I'm sorry. So through scribing, they're adding fully customizable spells, as in spellcraft, as in you create the spell, the damage effect and everything. And then alongside that, they're also adding another feature which allows you to cosmetically alter how older spells look in the game. I hope that clears it up. But yeah, overall, looks good. I don't think it's going to be one of the special source expansions, doesn't have a new class, doesn't have a particular location or theme that I'm super duper into, but hey, it could be a fun time. Changing tracks slightly, I have picked up a new anime which I have not done since Attack on Titan. By which I mean I watched through that last year, not that, I haven't watched any new anime since 2013. People who keep tabs on the anime sphere probably won't be surprised when they hear me say the name, though. I have been watching Frieren. Frieren? Oh my god, I was so confident about pronouncing that name and I feel like I butchered it. The premise of Frieren is that it is about a party of adventurers have just vanquished the Demon King. It is taking place at what traditionally would be the end of a long-running story in a fantasy universe, which has a lot of kind of tropes that you would expect from a JRPG or an MMO, a fantasy universe in that way, but it's not really supposed to be set in a video game. But the real kinch for me is that it is told from the perspective of an elf, and she lives thousands of times longer than mortals. So while she's had this 10-year-long adventure with these 3 other party members, what is to them a fairly sizable portion of their life is a blink in hers. And it's really interesting how they explore how what that means from her perspective versus what that means from theirs, and it explores the passing of time, and I don't know, just any story that adequately discusses topics such as mortality and the passage of time and long-lived beings is absolutely my jam, and Frieren does it so fucking well. What you need to know going into it is that it is quite cozy. It's not going to be super duper action packed. It's not the most epic thing you're ever going to see, but the animation is gorgeous. It's equal parts adorable, wholesome, but there is action, there is actual plot when there needs to be. It's just not every episode. It's very character driven, and I love all of the characters almost immediately upon meeting them. This show has made me tear up multiple times already, and I'm on episode 19. I'm almost caught up, sadly. I'm going to be very sad when I am caught up, because binging this has been such a fucking treat. It's hilarious and unexpected and moving and legitimately just beautiful, and I cannot recommend it more highly than I am currently doing so. If you've got the time, go and give it a look, seriously. And also I'm now worried that I've overhyped it, so go in expecting like a really boring, slow-paced, sleepy anime, and you know, what do I know, it's gonna be shit. Yeah, give it a go. I've described it as like an intense emotional journey. It probably isn't for most people, it's just where my headspace is at right now. Don't go in expecting something like super intense and crazy. It's just sleepy and cozy, okay? Let's leave it at that. Just to continue on from last week, I would like to mention that I'm still playing through Final Fantasy II. I'm still finding it to be surprisingly fun as this, you know, much maligned entry in the series. I guess people don't really say it's bad, but nobody really recommends this one, and I can still see why, and I will probably still agree with them when all is said and done, but I am just delighted to be enjoying this because I was worried it would be a hurdle to get past before continuing the rest of the series. I should hopefully have another episode up on Wednesday of my time with that game. I'm gonna go play some more as soon as I'm done recording this. I'm legitimately quite addicted to it right now, which isn't a thing I ever thought I would say about Final Fantasy II. And finally, you may have noticed that this week I posted, or last week, I posted a new type of video called a flip through, where we went through PSM issue 1, which, if you're not aware, is an unofficial PlayStation magazine from 1997. I have been wanting to make content about retro gaming magazines for a while, and I just couldn't figure out the medium. And eventually I decided to just give it a go, and I think it came out great. I'm really happy with it. I've already recorded half of the next episode, I guess, which is continuing through the same magazine, but we will be jumping around different magazines and different time periods. The next one I've got downloaded is based around the time, it's Pocket Gamer, and it's based around the time of a Nintendo DS releasing. It's not just me reading a magazine out to you. I read passages, but I just point out parts that interest me. I don't just paste the entire magazine page by page. It really is just like a flip through the magazine and pointing out things that interest me, talking about how times have changed, you know. I was a little worried going into it that it might just seem like, oh, and here's the magazine, and people will just come to it to read the magazine. But honestly, looking at the finished product, I think it is safely a transformative piece of media, you know. Like, I've just watched H. Bomber Guy's plagiarism video, so I guess this is kind of on the mind, but obviously, you know, I'm not like passing other people's work off as my own, this isn't that, but you know, that's just why I'm thinking about this kind of thing. If you haven't watched that video, you know, maybe go check it out and see what you think. I was worried that nobody would care about that video, but it seems to be performing well enough by the channel's standards, so I'm glad that it's going to be a thing I can continue to do. I say that like I'm supposed to be meeting some kind of threshold. Nah, this is all just personal ego, I guess. I don't make money doing this, I do this for fun. Anyway, as we approach the final boss of the second dungeon of the video, I just want to say, you know, this is episode 300, and it's pretty wild that I've been doing this for 300 episodes. Hopefully I get to continue doing it for 300 more, as long as I still find it fun to do. That is the key thing. I will stop doing these if I no longer find them fun. But I do, every week, or most weeks, I look forward to making these. I won't lie, there's the odd week where I'm like, ah shit, I gotta make the weekly waypoint, I forgot. But I'm delighted to have 300 weeks of my life on record, at least my life through the lens of media I've been enjoying and such. So thank you for joining me on any of these episodes of A Weekly Waypoint or anything else I make. I am still having a great time. I will hopefully see you in whatever I make next.